Morning. So this is what I'd like to introduce today. And it's more important now than ever that you understand some of the ancient communities that are in the Middle East. I'm going to try to make this as non-political as possible, but given the circumstances that exist outside this video, such as Syria and the war with Iraq and other possibles, Egypt, for instance, um, you, let's just be honest. There are ancient communities that are being destroyed. And when we talk about ancient, we're not talking about Reformation or to the Great Schism. We're talking about liturgical communities that go back before the 4th century that incorporate liturgies and theology and statements such as that from before the 4th century. So ancient, this goes back. Traditionally, they go back to St. Mark and St. James, although those liturgies are doubtful complete from St. James and St. Mark. We may allow that they go back in some way to those disciples and apostles and evangelists, but more than likely it's just connected to the thought of them. Now, these are older books that were published at the end of the 1800s, 1896 for Brightman and Hammond. You know what? Is 1878. As you can see, Hammond comes first. An MA. I mean, who would think that an MA could publish, right? Shouldn't you have to be a doctor to publish? But anyway, so you have Hammond, who was a priest, and one of his students, Brightman, who followed Hammond in doing this. The reason, you can go to Logos and see it here. Of course, I have it, so mine is 0. Yours is not. If you have an academic pricing, I don't know what it would be. I want to say the non-academic pricing is like 50 or so, maybe 50 or 60 bucks for both. Well worth the price. Yeah, that's what I'm showing. So anyway, it's like 50 bucks. Looks like it's on sale right now, so you definitely want to get this. But in writing my current book on Revelation, using that as some sort of liturgical prayers and some litany and things like that, and really trying to do some expository exploration of Revelation based on liturgical understanding. I don't know if I want to keep that or not. It's a good description for now. Anyway, so I'm really turning to these sources. What you have is, and this I'm just showing you, this is going to be Hammond's work. The Eastern and the Western. For those who are concerned about politically correct language, when you see Oriental, this is clearly not what you think it is. This is more along the East. You've got Clementine, you've got really just wonderful stuff here. A lot of it's the language, Greek. Latin. And what you start to really come away with is how important liturgical celebrations were. They were able to enshrine theology and keep this remarkably vivid tradition alive and well, responding but moving forward by holding to the past. The theology is what the theology is. The description points out that both of these authors include orthodox and heretical. The heretical being more conservative, the orthodox changing their language time to time to strengthen what they considered the real theology. And to be honest, when you get to the 4th century, you have a lot of debates over things like that. Are we to hold to language that really should not apply because we understand it differently and we talk about it differently now, or what. And that's where Arius comes in as a conservative, believe it or not. And Athanasius and the better saint, Marcellus, look like liberals to Arius, although we would see it differently now. And to bring into a modern analogy, you're talking about King James. Well, we have to hold that. That's conservative. Well, that's kind of a liberal position, but you get it. So here, you have a lot of these, to go back to the Syrian rites. And a lot of these are churches based in India, coming from Syria, so you have a lot of the St. Thomas, the Thomasine churches, Egyptian rite, Persian rite. And you get to see how these things are set up. And you get to follow them, and you go, well, we do that today, or we do this, or in our church, I'm United Methodist, and at our traditional service, we have liturgy, so I get to go, ooh, an introit, I know what that is, the invocation, and we follow those things. Although I don't see a children's sermon in here or announcements, I'm pretty sure that they did something where they could entice children to create more cavities by giving them candy with little sermons. I'm just trying to show you some of these things. Now, just as a note, I actually bought this, or came across in one of the things that I bought. Laughaus is not in any way contributing to this review, but it's important. I consider at the moment these two books are one of the most important selections in my library. Not just because I'm using them to write my book on Revelation, but because it's connecting me to ancient Christianities, ancient liturgical celebrations that I simply didn't know that were out there. I mean, you're not just talking about Rome and the East. You're talking about all these many churches and traditions that have from time to time waved in and waved out, and they may be merged with others, and the liturgy shows some of that, because you can take some of these and you can say, well, this is where it ended up here. So St. James gave away to maybe St. Basil, and you have Constantinople, you have St. John Chrysostom, and you have all of these. They start to build and they start to merge and they start to synthesize more ancient liturgies based on small creeds or anaphoras, call and responses. You have the liturgical sounds, and you can almost sit at your office chair in your library and smell the ancient incense, hear the prayers of the saints and the mumblings of those who are watching this take place. You can feel with some trepidation as the catechumens are dismissed because they can't take the Eucharist. And then suddenly the liturgy in force starts over with the faithful. As they start their prayers, they move to the ultimate celebration of liturgy, which is the Eucharist. And that's one of the most important things about these two books right now. And while some of them are dated, you are not going to find, in my opinion, a more valuable resource than this. Not a lot of commentary. They are just what they are. So you sit there and you're going to read and you're going to look at it and you're going to go, wow, liturgy is not just something that springs up overnight. It's something that passes on and carries forth. And you're going to look and go, well, where's the homily? Oh, wait, yep. And then you realize that. You realize how much, when you have a liturgy for the vesting of the priest, when they put on their vestments, you have all this stuff. These are why these books are important. Yeah, you got the Greek and Latin, you got other languages that are involved in here, but it's the history, it's the way that connects you to the ancient Christianities, and it makes you realize just how ancient these communities are, and maybe somehow how young we ancient Protestants really are. So, without going into further detail, these are some really awesome books. You need to get them from Laughaus. Keep them on your library, read them, use them, and see you next time.